TreVeyon Henderson isn't playing much, and that could lead to an addition by Mike Vrabel in the Pats front office. We start there. This is Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening? I'm your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, been covering the Patriots for the past 16 years, also the co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles, and did some talk radio in my day. On today's episode, if you listen to the locker room, it's clear that Mike Vrabel was the right hire at the right time. Also, as much as we want this team to bring in talent, we have to acknowledge the real challenges of doing so at the deadline. But first, the TreVeyon Henderson dilemma. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud partner, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and help a brother out, help a podcast out. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, to like, comment, and subscribe. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. TreVeyon Henderson has not had the early impact this season that I anticipated, and a lot of others anticipated. We talked about his explosiveness. We talked about his pass protection. What he could bring to this offense was a different element. The idea of TreVeyon Henderson being shot out of a cannon to start 2025 was not absurd. A lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people believed it. And then you go from that, the terrific camp, the preseason touches that got us all excited. His first touch as a New England Patriot in a preseason game, he takes a kickoff to the house. You go from that excitement, you go from those expectations to TreVeyon Henderson getting all of 9 snaps in Tennessee this past weekend. So the first question is, why? Why is this happening? Why is TreVeyon Henderson getting 9 snaps against the Titans? Well, he's struggling. He's struggling with the speed of the NFL. He's struggling with the size of the NFL. And it's not only him running the football, it's also pass protection. And these are things that we've discussed at times over the past 6 or 7 weeks. But in Tennessee, there were more examples. In the first quarter, the second drive of the game for the Patriots, it's 3rd and 8, shotgun formation. TreVeyon Henderson is in the game. And TreVeyon Henderson, he picks up a blitzer, but he does not sustain his block. And because he doesn't sustain his block, you get a late pressure. And when you get the late pressure, Drake May ends up sailing the football to Kyle Williams. Incomplete. You're punting the football away. TreVeyon Henderson has not yet caught up to the size and the speed of the league. And so when he's getting that initial block, when he gets the initial block, like he did against Tennessee, he just can't sustain that block. He can't hold it for long enough, which inevitably turns into a late pressure. Now, he did have, I'll be fair to TreVeyon Henderson, he did have a better rep later in the game against the blitz, but he has been uneven at best, and for the most part has not been good in pass protection, which is the biggest surprise about his game, because everybody thought, from scouts to players to coaches to pundits to people like me creating content, talking about the ability of TreVeyon Henderson being able to protect the passer like he did at the Ohio State. That was supposed to be an easy transition, and it just hasn't been. And when you compare TreVeyon Henderson pass protecting to Ramondre Stevenson pass protecting, honestly, it's not close at this point. It's really not close at this point. I'll give you an example. Second quarter, Patriots' 3rd drive of the game. The Tennessee Titans have a great punt. Great punt. Patriots start inside their own 10-yard line. It's the first play of that drive. 1st and 10. Drake May's back almost up against his own end zone. He gets a good pocket. Good job by the offensive line. But part of that is Ramondre Stevenson. Go back and watch this play again. Second quarter, Patriots' 3rd drive. Great punt. It's the first play of that drive for the Patriots offense. And Ramondre Stevenson does a great job picking up the blitz, Drake May, decisive, hits Hunter Henry on an out route for 12 yards. We're moving the chains. And inevitably, that drive results in the crazy Austin Hooper touchdown in the corner of the end zone. That's the difference we're talking about. And it's not just in pass protection. It's also when TreVeyon Henderson runs the ball. A lack of patience, at time a lack of vision. And when you compare that to Ramondre Stevenson in this Tennessee game, again, it's not even close. Third drive for the Patriots offense in the second quarter, 1st and 10, under center. Austin Hooper loses his block. Ramondre Stevenson sees it, bounces out, then cuts in, and instead of a tackle for loss, he picks up 4 yards. 2nd and 6, under center. Good initial push by the offensive line, but Ramondre Stevenson, he stays patient, and he runs hard, runs angry. Mac Hollins helps him finish to add 2 or 3 yards at the end of this run, an 11-yard run. 1st and 10, same drive, under center. TreVeyon Henderson comes into the game. He gets the handoff. He runs directly into the pile. No patience, no vision, didn't allow his blocks to actually happen so he could see what was in front of him. Just no patience, runs into the butt of the offensive line, and no cutback, no bounce out, and he ends up getting 2 or 3 yards instead of maybe being able to bounce it out to the left if he was a little bit more patient, where maybe he hits a big run. And when you're talking about the Patriots' run game, it's a slim margin of error. You need trust, you need consistency, and TreVeyon Henderson just has not gained that trust from the coaching staff because he has not been consistent when he's been out there. Now, am I freaking out? Of course I'm not freaking out. We could sit here and talk about what TreVeyon Henderson isn't doing quite yet without calling him a bust or saying he's not going to work out, he stinks. Everybody was lying about the camp that he had. He's not going to have that kind of an impact ever for this offense. We're 7 games into the young man's career. And I know it's difficult to ask of all of you because you've seen draft classes not work out, especially 2024, aside from Drake May. But I believe TreVeyon Henderson is too talented. He's too explosive to not eventually break through. It's just the learning curve is a little bit more steep. And I also have a ton of confidence in this coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Tony Dew's running backs coach. He's done it before. He's worked with young running backs. He is known as a tremendous coach. Josh McDaniels, we all know who he is and what he does. Thomas Brown, who came over, as we know, from originally the Rams and then went to the Panthers and then went to the Bears. All 3 of those guys, very respected offensive coaches and or coordinators. And I believe TreVeyon Henderson will eventually break through. But here's the thing. I don't know when that's going to happen. And if this coaching staff can't trust TreVeyon Henderson, if he's not getting more than 9 snaps in week 7, then the Patriots have to look at running back as we approach the trade deadline. They have to look at running back. And if they don't build that confidence and trust within TreVeyon Henderson over the next literally 1 or 2 weeks, they've got to make a move. Because if you don't make a move, then you have a running back room full of questions. Ramondre Stevenson has done a pretty good job of bouncing back from that Steelers game, taking care of the football. He looked more confident. Again, patience, vision. I thought he ran angry. I thought he was very good against Tennessee, especially in that first half. He was terrific. But what happens if he fumbles again or fumbles multiple times? Does he lose confidence and trust from the staff? And if that happens, do you go to TreVeyon Henderson? Can you go from 9 snaps to taking over Ramondre Stevenson's job? And I know Terrell Jennings looked good at the end of the Tennessee game and ran strong and finished the runs that he had. But I don't think you're going to jump to Terrell Jennings as your starting running back. So the clock's ticking, not on TreVeyon Henderson's career, not on him becoming a bust or any of that. But the clock is ticking for the Patriots to make a decision on whether or not they believe they can ride with the 3 backs that they have. And if there's any question, if you want to do justice by your football team, you go out and you add somebody, if you can do it. Which brings me to this. As badly as the Pats might want to address running back or another position, the reality is it ain't that easy. We'll tell you why next. This is Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. NFL season is here, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why you should use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, it's easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you actually pay. You pull up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, you see amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games for as low as $100, and the app makes it super simple. You can even see the exact view from the seat before you buy it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So the reports are the Patriots are making calls. They're making calls. They're checking in on players. We've heard about maybe them addressing pass rush, cornerbacks been thrown out there, maybe running back, maybe wide receiver, but the Patriots are making calls. And my expectation is that the Patriots, as I said last week, will be aggressive if a deal is there. If a deal is on the table and they feel like that deal can help them as a football team, I believe they'll be aggressive in making that trade. But here's the warning for all of you. And I have to remind myself of this sometimes too, because sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. It's not easy. It's not easy to work a trade, especially during the season. You have to start with supply and demand. First of all, who's available? Like I see a lot of people saying, Trey Hendrickson, go out there and get Trey Hendrickson. Well, now that Cincinnati did what they did last week with Joe Flacco, I don't think Cincinnati is running to the telephones trying to make deals in getting rid of Trey Hendrickson. And reportedly, they're not. Reportedly, right now, the plan is that they want to hold on to Trey Hendrickson. So he might not even be available. Breece Hall's banged up. Jets offense is a disaster. Maybe Breece Hall isn't available. Chris Olave is a name that I've thrown out there. Maybe Chris Olave is not available. Reports are the Saints are trying to work out a deal with Chris Olave. Now, maybe, of course, they don't get that deal done and Chris Olave becomes available, but maybe they get the deal done, or maybe they start working on the deal right now to then get it done in the offseason. Maybe Chris Olave is not available. So who is available? And then what's the price? Do you think it makes sense to make a move? Is it worth giving up what the team wants in return? And let's not forget that when you look at the AFC, and you can even argue the NFC, in the NFL this year, there's a wide open feeling to it. There are a lot of teams right now that feel like they can make a run. Yes, you have your favorites. You can look at the Indianapolis Colts as the possible favorite, or the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Buffalo Bills. But there's still 3 or 4 teams that might be contenders to win the title, might not be contenders by the end of the year to win the title. There's a bunch of other teams that are in the mix, including the Patriots, who right now sit as the number 2 seed in the conference. And then you look at the NFC, it might even be more wide open than the AFC. And when you have so many teams jockeying for playoff position and believing they might have a shot, hey, all we got to do is make this run. If the Baltimore Ravens win this week, I guarantee you they're going to tell themselves, we're on the brink of finding a way to win games, and we are going to make this run. We got Lamar Jackson, and if we can win a string of games, we can get into the playoffs, and who knows what happens. Derrick Henry starts running the football, and he doesn't fumble anymore. We fixed the defense. Coming off the bye week, we figured it out. We self-scouted, yada, 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 yada. And so when you have so many teams that are battling to get into the playoffs and feel like they're still in the hunt, then you might have less people available because the trade market is not flush with options. And then you get through all of that and you start to talk about fit, and fit matters. Fit absolutely matters. When you acquire a player, it's not like acquiring a second baseman in baseball. You just plop him in second base. Here you go. You're a second baseman, play second base. We'll hit you 7th. Bingo, bango, no big deal. Basketball to a point. You acquire somebody who is a stretch big. He's a stretch big. You fit him where he fits. Boom, put him on the court. Bing, bang, boom. There it is. Figure out the minutes, and you got somebody who can help you. Football is a completely different animal. It's different than hockey. It's different than pretty much all the sports that we talk about, the four major ones, because when you acquire a player, you got to make sure that that player fits your team. Does that player fit the scheme? Does that player do things that you think translate to your scheme, your system that they did at the prior stop? Now, yes, you can get a pass rusher and just say, pin your ears back and go. Not every single position is like that, but you have to make sure for most of these positions, for most of these players, they fit your scheme, even the offensive line, defensive line. How do they fit up front? And then you've got to think about, is the player that we acquire, is that person a quick learner? Are they a quick study? Do you feel confident that if you acquire that player, they'll be able to jump right in, not miss a beat, and impact it? You know, you go back to like the Aqib Talibs of the world. That worked. You acquire a corner, you say you're going to play man coverage a lot, and it works out. But it doesn't always work out. Sometimes players take time to figure stuff out. And they learn their prior scheme and their system easy, but then they jump to a different system, a different scheme, and they have all sorts of issues, and they never truly figure out how they can make an impact with that team that acquired them. Speaking of impact, what's the impact on other guys? If you go out there and you acquire a Jacoby Myers, for example, who's coming off the field? Is it Matt Collins? Do you want Matt Collins off the field? Do you think Matt Collins helps you more as a run blocker and some of the things that he can do in the red zone? So do you really want to make a deal for Jacoby Myers? What are you giving up for Jacoby Myers? And is it worth trading for somebody like Jacoby Myers if they're not going to give you a huge tick in the right direction, right? How much does Jacoby Myers move the needle? And what would justify making that move? What is Jacoby Myers' impact on the receivers? What if you want Kyle Williams to get more snaps by the end of the year? How does that impact Kyle Williams? These are all questions, not even to mention the culture. You bring a player in from outside of the room, how do they fit the culture? And that's why I believe if the Patriots are going to make a trade or trades, they're going to bring in guys that they have done their homework on or have a personal relationship with, i.e. Jacoby Myers, who worked with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels would know precisely how to use Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers would know the offense. You slide him in, and you know who the player is. You know who the personality is, and you feel much better about a trade for someone like that. Chris Olave played at Ohio State. Of course, we know Mike Vrabel's background. What kind of work does Mike Vrabel get done on Chris Olave? Do they feel like he's the right fit? Do these players that you're ready to acquire or want to acquire or might acquire, do they fit your timeline? There are so many layers to this. It's not fantasy football. I play fantasy football. It's not fantasy football. And the biggest mistake the Patriots can make is if they deal an asset that can help them in the future and the trade doesn't end up working. You know, Seth Walder of ESPN regraded all the deals that were done last year. And he looked at one of them that jumped out at me. It was Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper to Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills got Cooper in a 6th-round pick. Cleveland got a 2025 3rd-round pick and a 2026 7th-round pick. That trade was made on October 15th, so a week ago, if you're looking at this season. The original grade that Seth Walder gave the Bills, and I liked the trade at the time, Seth Walder gave the Buffalo Bills an A- for that Amari Cooper trade. The new grade for the Bills on that deal is a D+. It didn't work. It did nothing for them. Amari Cooper ended up retiring after joining the Raiders for a couple days this offseason. The original grade for the Browns was a B. The new grade for the Browns from Seth Walder is an A-. Worked out swimmingly for the Browns to get a 3rd-round pick and a 7th-round pick for Cooper in a 6th. Buyer beware. How close are you? What is the actual impact of that player? Buyer beware. Not everything works out perfectly. Are you willing to risk assets to bring somebody in, understanding that it might not work and you wasted those assets, which you might need to build this thing the right way? By the way, the Patriots did pick up defensive end outside linebacker Caleb Murphy off waivers. He played in Tennessee in 2023. I think he's going to be mostly a special teams guy, but maybe he helps them on the edge, and we'll see what happens. We know that Keon White and Anthony Jennings are both reportedly on the block. So maybe that's what the Patriots are thinking. All right, while one former head coach is on the precipice of football immortality, the present HC is proving to be the right guy. That's next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. You can build parlays, you can try player props, even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats like I do, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. Right now, new customers just bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. You pick the bet, you put down $5. If that bet hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So my question to all of you, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Mike Vrabel is changing the culture and the vibes in Foxborough. We'll talk about that coming up, especially some revealing comments from the locker room. But first, let's talk about a head coach of the past. Bill Belichick is officially one of 12 coaching Hall of Fame finalists. Now, if you're wondering, you look at how this situation works out. This initial wave happens. Then you've got, the 12 finalists, and then you whittle them down, and inevitably we find out if any of these 12 guys will make the Football Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame. And look, we could all feel a certain way about Bill Belichick, and we all know what's happened the past year or couple of years and how weird it's got at North Carolina. But he clearly is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He won 8 Super Bowls in the NFL, 6 as a head coach. And if you even want to look beyond all the accomplishments with the Patriots, think about the impact that Bill Belichick had on the game of football. Think about the impact that Belichick had on the defensive side of football. His defensive game plan is at the Hall of Fame. He just had an unbelievable impact within the game. And so he needs 80% of the votes. There are 50 voters. He needs 40 of the 50 votes to officially be put into the Hall of Fame. He absolutely should be. It's unequivocal to me. If anybody debates it, they're out of their mind. That's my own opinion. We're all entitled to those. And can he be hurt by some of the grudges? Yes. Can he be hurt by some of the pettiness on his side and other sides? Absolutely. Can he be hurt by Spygate and Deflategate? If certain people want to use that against him, I'm sure they will use that against Bill Belichick. But he is no doubt a Hall of Famer. He's one of the easiest calls in the history of the game to be put in. And it should be first ballot. And it would be kind of entertaining if Robert Kraft also got in. But Bill Belichick deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So hopefully he gets in. Let's move on to Mike Vrabel. Through the first 7 weeks of this season, it's clear to me, and I think it's clear to many of you, that Mike Vrabel's the right guy for this team. The right guy at the right moment. And he is truly galvanizing his group. And when Mike Vrabel was hired, and I wanted him hired in 2024 before I found out about the Gerard Mayo contract and how that was a done deal already, apparently behind closed doors. I wanted Mike Vrabel to be the head coach. When Bill Belichick was done, when they quote unquote mutually parted ways, i.e. Bill Belichick got fired, I thought Mike Vrabel should have been the dude. Should have been the dude from the get-go. We all know what happened, but here we are. And when Mike Vrabel was hired, and this was part of my argument back in 2024, I talked about him being a leader of men. He knew how to lead a room. He knew how to get buy-in. And we see that. He is galvanizing this group. And I'm talking about young players. I'm talking about older players. Demario Douglas in the locker room, or maybe it was on Monday with the media. Demario Douglas said, quote, "It starts with our coaches and then the players. We're all close. I think this is the first team that the offense and defense are close. We're close." And he's talking about personally. This group seems to like each other. And that is in no small part because the guy at the top, Stefon Diggs, talking about winning in Tennessee, said, "I don't care what he said." He, as in Mike Vrabel. "I don't care what he said. We wanted to win this for him," unquote. So younger players, older players, they're buying in. Vrabel has their attention. Mike Vrabel has galvanized this group. And when you reach the players, that's when you get the buy-in. And you not only get buy-in, you get a less complacent group. They're willing to listen to you and appreciate you. And they understand the challenges that are ahead. They believe in you. They believe in your message. They will be accountable. They will be responsible because you show accountability. You show responsibility to the guys that are in that room, whether you show it to the media at all times. We can talk about that. But when you're in the room, when you're dealing with these players, all 53 or individually, what are the conversations like? And it's pretty obvious these players, they really love, to this point, playing for Mike Vrabel. And I'll also bring this up. The combination of Mike Vrabel and his understanding of analytics and being a former player and being a coach, a head coach in prior years, has led him to manage players in certain ways. And we shouldn't overlook that. Jelani Tavai, this is from a Taylor Kyle's post. Tavai called Mike Vrabel a dude when asked what makes the head coach so easy to play for, adding that Vrabel is a player's coach who makes sure guys are right physically and mentally. And I think you can draw a direct line from Jelani Tavai's quote to what we just saw happen over the past 3 weeks. That's how you win 3 straight games on the road, because players are feeling right. They're feeling right physically. They're feeling right mentally. And that's because they believe the head coach is doing what's best for them. They believe that Mike Vrabel is taking care of them. You see some of this stuff with the coaching staff in some recent stories that I've read. The coach is saying that Mike Vrabel will give them time to go have dinner with their families, to go to their kids' sporting events, understanding that, yeah, you ask a lot of the coaches when they're in the building, but make sure they get out of the building from time to time so they appreciate what they have in life. It puts things in perspective, and it builds a bond between the coaching staff, and it helps the relationship between Mike Vrabel and the rest of the staff that he has. And the players feel the same thing. They believe that Mike Vrabel, with every fiber of his being, is going to do what's best for them physically and mentally. And you can argue or not argue about how Mike Vrabel has gone about it, but I think the results speak for themselves so far. You win 3 straight games on the road. It's a very tall task for any team, no matter who you're playing. And you need to be physically and mentally ready, and you need to be physically and mentally tough. And that comes from the head coach. Understanding the pulse, keeping them hungry, keeping them humble, managing expectations. And that's why an opposing executive told Mike Sando of The Athletic recently, quote, They are a good team. I do not think they are a great team, but here is what they do not do: beat themselves. That is the nature of that coach. Talking about Mike Vrabel, there is a fear factor of accountability, unquote. And that's why when Aaron Schatz posts that the Patriots will have the easiest schedule in DVOA history since 1978 based on current ratings, I'm not too worried about the Patriots overlooking their competition. I have confidence that the Pats won't lose due to overlooking who they're playing because of Mike Vrabel, because he will keep them grounded, because he will keep them humble, because he will make sure they appreciate the challenge of being a professional football player week in and week out. The staff, some of the veterans, Mike Vrabel, I believe they will keep their eyes on the prize and not get too far ahead. That wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer. Reach out to me on Twitter at NickCRadio, and don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe, getting closer and closer to 7,000. For your second listen, get a double dose of Locked On NFL podcast with Tyler the Madman Rowland and Tony Wiggins. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow for the crossover episode, getting ready finally for the Patriots and the Browns, Week 8 at Gillette.